Alright, now welcome to the solar system series known as Options, where we're talking about the sign that can tell you how to do almost anything and knows how to create any type of option that they possibly want to handle any situation that they come across. So, if you couldn't tell by the title, we're talking about sun sign Sagittarius. So this is what these people focus on and how they express themselves, right? So before we get into all of that, let's talk about the sun before we talk about the lens that it's angling through. So the sun is what? The sun is how you see things, how you go about doing things. It's not the thing that actually carries out the actions. However, it's how you pay attention and how you express yourself. It's how you consciously see the world and how you the vehicle that you utilize to act on anything, right? So when this is layered through sun sign Sagittarius, these people are very optimistic, right? And we're going to get into why that is. So sun sign Sagittarius people, the constellation of Sagittarius was born from the 9th house. This is the house of distant travel, in and outside of the mind. I know I just did a little opposition there, but you'll catch it. So what this 9th house influence does is this is the space that Sagittarius was born out of. So this is the influence, this is the perspective that it carries a lot of its own influence on. You know what I'm saying? So when it angles through the sun, these people know how to come up with numerous methods of going about doing things. They have numerous doors they can go through, and they don't like feeling as though they're trapped into one method of going about doing things. You know what I'm saying? Now, where they sort of get this ever-expansive desire for options and outlooks and perspective on things, the planet Jupiter is the planet of expansion through experience. So this is where their influence will just push you to just dive into something just to see how it'll play out. You don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Like when you're binging on a Netflix series, you want to just, oh my God, you want to just watch the new episode, new episode, new episode. This has nothing to do with rewatching the old episode again. That's not necessarily Jupiter. That's more of a Saturn thing where you create some type of structure around the episode itself because it makes you feel some type of certain way and it gives you some type of oomph. That's why you like it, so you'll keep watching something. That's not what Jupiter does. Jupiter wants to see new things, new experiences, new situations. And it doesn't like just going back over the old same thing over and over and over again just to scrub out some details of it. This leads us back to the planet that Sagittarius just really can't stand. So if you can tell from this opposition and what it actually opposes, you'll tell that this planet of Mercury is something that it can't stand. It doesn't want to know the details of things. It doesn't want to know what it actually has to do step by step in order to handle some type of situation. It wants to find perspective of how to go through many different ways. It doesn't want to see the window pane on the door. It doesn't want to know that it's some type of silica composition. It doesn't want to know that it's just hard sand formed into glass. It doesn't want to know that it is in an exact square formation and that each single point and angle is 90 degrees so that it can go through a learning experience of figuring out how to go through it. It wants to utilize this lens and see what all these other lenses have to offer and how fucking Sagittarius can actually just go through and just look at things in many different ways. You know, if I were to just pop my head back there, they would be like, oh man, what does it look like through here? What does it look like through there? What does it look like through this? And this sort of ties back into how Sagittarius is just optimistic because they can see through many different lenses of how to do something. Whether they act on it and actually do something is up to their other signs because they may not necessarily act on the actual how they go about doing something, but they'll act on finding the perspective of it and figuring it out for themselves. Now, not to beat a dead horse in terms of options, but what you gotta know about freaking Sagittarius sun people is that in terms of options and just going about actually utilizing those plans, thoughts, and ideas in regards of how to do something, it has nothing to do with anything about actually going about and acting on it. It may be utilized to actually go help someone else act on it because you may want to be teaching something since you have the time, the space, and the direct influence and lens to focus on coming up with some type of outlook in numerous different fashions and coming up with different plans. But actually going about doing this is a whole nother story. And what a Sagittarius sun person actually likes with coming up with options is they don't even want to look through a lens and just be boxed in with it. You know what I'm saying? They just want to know that they can have a lens so that they can just throw a freaking, ooh, that was almost bad. So they can just throw some type of idea at you in order to show that they have, I don't want to say like freedom in thought, but they just want to be, this ties back to the Jupiter influence, where when they're focusing on something and they're paying attention to something, they want it to be ever expansive so that they don't feel boxed in. They just want to absorb the knowledge, absorb the wisdom, absorb the perspective. And this is why these people are so optimistic, because they always have something they can go to. They always have, I don't want to say a ground they can stand on, but they always have a perspective that they can find some light in, you know? These are the type of people, like, for you that freaking, watch Avatar and stuff out there, these are like the Iroh type of people, you know what I'm saying? Because, yes, they went through a bunch of terrible circumstances where they were under one philosophy, like they freaking ran up and they just destroyed this city and tried to ransack this city and, you know, just take freaking Bossing, say, from the Earth Kingdom. But, you know, after 650 or so days, their men were tired and they stopped. But little did he know he was doing something negative and harmful to the world under one philosophy. And, you know, maybe he knew it was wrong, maybe he didn't at the time. That's neither here nor there. You know, if you read the comics, you can answer that for yourself. Now, the whole point to this is he was seen in a positive light after the fact. Like, do you get what I'm saying here? Like, he was the one who torched that Fire Nation flag right up on the wall, and you were like, damn, man, this dude freaking, I'm all with Uncle Iroh. Full in mind, and everybody knew that he did the negative thing and tried to get through the wall of Bossing, say, way back when, but they were cool with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, when you actually sit back and think about it, like, which is what a probably Gemini person wouldn't be able to let go of, is they would just be sitting there watching the detail of a Sagittarius sun person just rolling around and being all like, ah, you know, look at me, like, I helped the world. Damn well knowing that they were the one that caused the problem in the first place. That's where that opposition will come and be like, nah, man, we're not having this. You're at net neutral. Like, a Gemini won't be coming up and saying all negative because they're still going through the detail of being like, oh, you know, well, I guess they were kind of positive in this aspect. They still did this, so I'm going to look at them neutrally. And they're the ones that'll probably bring the whole light onto the whole Sagittarius sun, just being out here wilding, trying to be like the, you know, the pillar of perspective in their realm. Like, do you get what I'm saying here? Like, I'm not saying they're bad people in any way, but they do some shiesty shit just so they can get some attention on what they like, which is coming up with perspective, options, and philosophy on many different things, despite if they actually act on it or not. So what a lot of Sagittarius sun people do quite well by accident a lot of the time, and then it's like, you know, they're doing so good, they're doing so good, they're doing so good, and then they just keep going and they didn't have to, is whenever you sort of create just like 3 solutions to an idea or a problem, you low-key create like a trine in some type of sense. So you're sort of, instead of like what a Sagittarius, like an unaware Sagittarius sun would normally do, and which is just like creating options, creating outlooks, creating all these type of things, if they just stopped for one thing that they were actually focusing on and just created 3 situations, anytime a problem or an issue you have, when you were just going through that, you would encapsulate it in 3. And then so whichever way it freaking picks, you would be bottlenecking it into a solution that you already know a lot about. Like, do you get what I'm saying here? Like, this may be a little extra, this may be a little too much, but if you're a Sagittarius, you like philosophizing, so you ain't gonna be hating with me. And my actual moon sign trines you, so I may be a little direct, may talking too much about it, but enough said, you know what I'm saying? So what you can do and how you can start working on these gifts and actually benefiting yourself in some type of way is that if you stop looking on the lens and you stop focusing through some type of thing and boxing it in, and you just don't really like, I don't want to say boxing it in, but do like the opposite of boxing it in, you add like a little bit of structure and a little bit of steps and a little bit of details, I know it's going to feel like some work because you just can't stand Mercury, but if you do it on something that's actually useful to you, you can benefit yourself highly and create numerous gifts in numerous situations that you actually want to direct yourself in. Even if it's philosophy, you can come up with 3 solutions and be like, oh, okay, if I'm philosophizing too much and I'm not actually focusing on what I need to be directed in, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to remember that I can create a trine, remember that I can add a little bit of structure into my life, And if it benefits me, I'm just going to come up with 3 solutions and I can expand to them as much as I want. But it's only 3 solutions. I know it's going to damage your freedom, but not doing this may damage your freedom too. You know what I'm saying? And then if you want to come up with another solution, you can just be like, oh, okay, I'm just thinking and feeling way too damn much, so I'm just going to chill right now and let someone else handle it for me. I'm going to go philosophize in the dream world and just go to sleep and chill. And then another solution you can come up with is you can just be like, you know what, maybe I do want to philosophize. Maybe I do want to come up with a new situation and actually develop myself and just philosophize and go out creating new outlooks as much as I want. And you can do that, you just have to do it under the guise of knowing what you're doing so that you're not walking around here not knowing why. You know what I'm saying? This is what you can learn from your little brother growing up, Scorpio. These motherfuckers always ask why. So when you're going up through philosophizing and creating new outlooks and just doing not mental mathematics or anything, but just traveling inside and just finding out what you feel and how you see things and your perspective on things. You can ask, instead of why this thing is or why this perspective is, you can ask, why am I looking at this? And anyways, thanks for following the solar system series known as Options. We're going to run through the alignments of why Sagittarius is the way it is, and then you can go about your day philosophizing as you see fit. So, Sagittarius, right? Born from the 9th house. The 9th house is about distant travel, short, long distance travel, and just going to different places internally and externally. It also kind of deals with religion, philosophy, just broad perspective and being able to encapsulate everyone's perspective and feeling, I guess a little holier than thou to some extent. But you also know how to utilize it and give these gifts out to the little man, as you may see sometimes, you know? Sagittarius is also ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion through experience, where you can just basically go out and just dive into an experience and just see what might happen for you. It's away in Mercury, and it doesn't really like having to deal with the details of certain things, but sometimes it recognizes it has to. It'll just feel like, oh, work. I actually got to follow through. I just can't get someone else to do it for me. And, that is what it is. Majority of the time, these are very optimistic people. These are very helpful people. They definitely have an idea and a perspective on anything you may ask them. So feel free to utilize that. When it comes to actually carrying something out and working on something for yourself, you may want to hit up your trining friend Aries so it can actually just barge through and do it. Because it doesn't want to think about it. It just wants to do. And you can utilize that, and it can utilize you. Anyways, thanks for following the solar system series known as Options. Peace.